These rose and raspberry tartlets are made to impress, just like the rest of the recipes in our ebook chapter, Meals to Impress. These tartlets are made with phyllo pastry in the base, and then into that we're going to put a pastry cream, which is eggs, sugar, flour, milk, and flavoured with rose water. Finish those off with raspberries and pistachios. They look really impressive. Now, so first up, we'll take our phyllo pastry. This needs unrolling and cutting into squares about that sort of size. 3 of them overlapped with butter, pushed into a muffin tin, and then baked off in an oven 190 degrees Celsius for 5 minutes.
So these are forming our bases?
Yes, really crisp, really impressive, but so simple. Taking one sheet at a time, cut into squares, layer them up. This doesn't have to be perfect, because you're doing 3 layers. Actually, the more rustic it is, the better it looks in the end anyway.
All ruffled and stuff.
Yeah, it's actually a really good thing.
Creased.
Butter them up.
Just one side?
Just one side. And like all of the rest of the recipes in this chapter, this is about finding simple treats that look impressive, are out there to impress, but actually aren't that difficult. So either desserts you can make way ahead of time, like this one, or we've got tiramisu, we've got like a crema catalana, and we've got the chocolate torte. So really simple stuff, it's impressive, everyone loves them, but you can do them way ahead. So actually, when you come to entertaining, whether it's just a couple of you on a date night, or a group of friends in like a dinner party situation, it's really easy.
It's not only desserts that we made in this chapter either, was it? We did loads of posh sort of mains, like a Wellington.
Yep.
We did beef Wellington. We did a seafood paella.
And a duck dish.
That was good, wasn't it?
3 starters, 3 main course, and 3 desserts. So actually you can mix and match and create sort of dinner party ideas depending on who you've got coming and what dishes you want to do. And when it comes to still photography, sometimes you have to cheat things, don't you? So we stitched you up well and truly in our date night.
Yes. Yes, you did. You had me feeding chocolatey strawberries to someone who is a friend who was also a colleague at work at the time as well, as if that didn't make it awkward enough.
Staged romance.
It's like, hey, do you want to appear in this book? Yeah, sure. What does it entail? Probably just eating some nice food. I didn't know. She turned up, and then you had me dipping chocolate strawberries in her mouth.
At where?
Barry's nan's house.
It was the best looking location we had, so there we go, that worked. So there's 12, obviously you can make plenty more if you want, but then they can go into an oven, 190 degrees Celsius for 5 minutes until they're golden and crisp. Then they come out and rest on a wire rack. In the meantime, we can make our pastry cream, for which we need 5 egg yolks. So Mike, if you can be in charge of separating those out, like
well saved.
that. And I'm gonna heat up the milk in a pan until it's bubbling. I was going to use the whites meringue, perhaps not the case anymore, but that's fine. It's the egg yolks we need for this recipe, along with plain flour, sugar. So this is a stabilised creme anglaise by putting in the flour and rose water. Okay, and about half a teaspoon of rose water. So that's the kind of Turkish delight flavours. Works really nicely with
because
rose.
it's so subtle.
It is that kind of perfumed, and also it's a bit like quite a kind of sophisticated perfume flavour that's very considered to be quite impressive.
Okay.
As opposed to just bunging in classic flavours like vanilla or things like that. It's just a bit different.
Yeah.
And then all of this gets whisked together, so we probably should have put it in the big bowl, really. So whisk that together until you've got kind of a thick paste. Nice golden colour from the yolks, big eggs. These cook so quickly.
Well, that was quick.
So much easier than messing around with full pastry and letting it rest and rolling it out. Because what you're left with are these cool little pastry cases that we can pluck out now, allow to cool, and fill up in just a minute. And they're much smaller. It's like tartlets instead of tarts, they're just tartlets.
Well, it's not a traditional tart base either, is it?
No, it's our sort of cheap, but they look kind of cool, don't they?
They look really cool.
Like all of the recipes in this chapter, they look cool, but they're no more difficult to make. And a number of the recipes in this chapter, not this recipe, because this one isn't in the chapter, but they have aphrodisiacs in them as well. So
what's an aphrodisiac?
Things that kind of help set the mood, get your hormones going. Like good lighting, but also like figs and oysters and booze in the tiramisu, things like that. So really cool flavours. Now our hot milk can be added to this mix. A little bit to start off with to loosen it up, and then the whole rest can go in.
So this recipe isn't actually in the ebook.
No.
But it is inspired by. We've taken all the ideas from the amazing dishes in the ebook, which you can get if you click on the link below, and we've used that as inspiration to create another one.
Exactly the same theme with different recipes.
So, is this an aphrodisiac? What are you trying to do to me?
No, this is just to impress. These are little rose and raspberry tartlets.
You're trying to impress me?
I'm always impressing you guys.
You
Transfer the mix back to a pan and then continue to cook it until it thickens while you stir continually. And what you can do is allow it to boil. Because it's got the flour in there to help stabilise it, let it boil until it thickens up.
So it won't separate?
No, it won't go like scrambled egg because you've got the flour whisked in there as well. In the meantime, you can do our pistachio crumbs, so a nice green nut on top. So if you put a few of those into our blender, we probably need a handful of those, just enough to blend up to make a crumb. And you can also see now that our pastry cream, you can smell the rose off that, but it's nice and thick.
Yep.
We can transfer it just to any bowl to cool down.
This is like custard.
It is, it's like a safe custard because it's got the flour in there to stop it from splitting. There we go, we leave our pastry cream to cool down and exactly the same for our tartlet cases. Then we can combine both for our rose and raspberry tartlets. Now that the pastry cream is set, you can see it's got a little bit of skin on it, so what you can do is just kind of mix that all back up. And a little dollop into each of our pastry cases. Maybe 3 raspberries onto each one, so they look
maybe 3, maybe 4.
like that.
Do 2 little eyes. And then a big knife.
And then after the raspberries, some of our pistachio crumbs. So you've got more vibrant colours, rose water pistachio, another good combo.
Love pistachios. Don't you think that makes such a big difference? Just that little speckle of green just makes it look so much better.
The crunchy phyllo pastry's already got the texture, so this is less about texture, more about colour and appearance. Last couple of sprinkles.
Very nice.
And there they are, to impress. Not in our ebook chapter, but inspired by the very same theme. It's our rose and raspberry tartlets sorted. These are not quite as elegant to eat as they are to look at.
How are we going to do this? Nicely done. Oh yeah. The rose water is not what you'd expect to get when you bite into it. You expect that to be a creamy custard, and the crunchiness of the pistachios, I'm loving it.
I think these are pretty good examples of dishes to impress, much like all the rest of them from the ebook, which you guys should go and download.
And why don't you comment below with the dishes that you've created to impress other people, and we'll probably nick those ideas and make those too.